Tampa into our downtown area.
Well, we could use a little eliminating of congestion in here, Cliff, huh? So how maybe you can tell a little bit about the project. This is it right here?
Well, what you're seeing over my shoulder is the elevated portion. It's a concrete segmental bridge that was built in the median of our existing expressway. And we built about 60% of the project as this elevated bridge. Some of it is on the ground. But what's unique about this project is that it provides uncongested flow into an urban area from a suburban area. It's the only one that we know of in the country that works at this length and has provided this kind of uncongested travel. And having an opportunity to look at some of the problems here in Hawaii, specifically the problems on H1 coming in and out of the city, we felt that this particular project would have great applications here in Honolulu.
So how does it work? You're driving along the freeway and then you come onto where your hot lanes are, or do you enter into it, or how does it work?
Actually, you're right. What you do is you enter the expressway at the traditional interchanges, and then we have sets of slip ramps that allow you to move from our outside lanes, or these lower existing local lanes, to the express lanes in the morning, headed into downtown. And then in the afternoon, after we've reversed the system, there are a set of ramps that allow you to do the same thing. So people can enter at some special entrances we have into the lanes, or they can use the ramps between the existing lanes and the new express lanes to either move back and forth between the two sets.
So how long does it take to build something like this, and how much money does it cost, and how does that work out for the taxpayer?
Well, this particular project, 10 miles long, cost about $300 million to construct, but not one penny came from local taxes.
Wow.
We are a toll expressway authority. Everything we do is user financed, and to raise the $300 million to build this project, we sell revenue bonds, and those bonds are paid off over a period of 30 to 40 years by the people who are actually paying a $1 toll to use this expressway.
So it's a great deal for taxpayers, because actually they just get to go out and pay a toll if they want to go faster, and if they don't, they just go on the regular route. Is that right?
Well, not only does it make better transportation available to people who are willing to pay, but all of the traffic that is diverted onto this toll road makes the other roads work better too. So not only have we provided uncongested travel for people willing to pay $1, it is also diverting traffic away from the existing roadway system, and those roads are operating better as well.
Sounds like a good deal. In fact, we always hear here, Cliff, that the hot lanes are for rich people, and only the rich people can afford to go on hot lanes. But if you're just talking about $1, that's a great deal.
Right.
I would pay $1 to get to work quicker.
Normally we raise our tolls once every 10 years to keep up with inflation. Next year will be the time for us to raise the tolls, and they will go up to $1.50. But that is a very minimal cost to pay for a 10-minute guaranteed trip from your house to downtown Tampa.
Otherwise, what might it take if you're stuck in traffic, and how much time do you save?
Well, before we opened these lanes, it took our average customer on the expressway 30 to 40 minutes to make the same trip. It is saving 20 to 25 minutes for virtually all of our morning and afternoon peak hour customers, and they love it.
So you're saving more in gas, actually, probably.
Saving gas, saving time, reducing air pollution, and more than anything else, saving the kind of stress that being in bumper-to-bumper traffic causes almost everyone who has to drive in it.
So what is different about this this system versus maybe some other systems across the country? You helped develop this and plan this, and
well, what you're looking
it?
at here, and certainly reversible lanes have been used in a lot of cities around the world, not just in the United States, but this is the first implementation of a bridge of this type and length for a project like this. These bridges are normally used over rivers and waterways. They have been used in interchanges, but this is the first bridge of this length that has been used anywhere in the United States or anywhere in the world that we know of to address specifically urban traffic congestion.
Cliff, how do you think this translates to, I'm just trying to wake you up over here. Yeah. We're just making sure he's with us, right? How do you see this in terms of Hawaii? I mean, we talk about you know, we have this proposal for a $4 billion rail system, and it could go up and be even more. And, you know, you've talked about this system or a system like this for Hawaii instead. It's a lot more affordable, $300 million. How do you see this working in Hawaii?
We have been recommending this kind of format since 1990 is when we first said that this should be studied, a two-lane version of this, and Tampa has built it and it works, and it's absolutely ideal for us. Now we have, what our elected officials don't seem to understand is that we have a traffic congestion problem. We don't have a public transportation problem, and you're only going to solve highway congestion problems with highway solutions. And across the country, not only in Hawaii, people have been trying to solve our overall traffic problems with public transportation solutions. Hasn't worked anywhere.
You mean like buses and so on, that kind of thing?
Right.
When you say public transportation and rail.
Rail transit, and in none of the cities where they've built rail transit have they reduced traffic congestion. The record's very clear on that. I mean,
well, we have public officials here who say, well, we're not going to reduce traffic congestion with the rail, but we are going to offer another alternative to our people. So what do you say about that?
Well, they whisper it. I wish you know.
I've actually heard them say that at press conferences, but nobody picks it up.
That's right. You'd never see it above the fold in the newspapers. Okay.
Right.
It is not out there in the public consciousness that they are going to have, after the rail transit is built, if it is built, the traffic congestion will be worse than it is today. That is not in the public's mind.
Just because they're spending more money on one system and not expanding the roads, is that why?
Well, it doesn't make common sense to the average person in the street that the city was going to spend $4 billion and not reduce traffic congestion.
You don't see that as a good idea, Cliff?
You know, when you're talking to groups, as I do, and they hear that, and it's like, huh?
Right.
You know, and they just don't understand that it is a serious matter that the city and the state planners are planning for greater traffic congestion, okay, except if you go by public transportation, in which case you theoretically will have an uncongested ride, but it's going to be an uncongested slow ride because the rail lines average only 24 miles an hour.
And how much does a rail ride cost? I mean, he's saying about $1.50 or so to go on the toll road to get there quicker. How much is a rail ride? I'm just about.
At the moment, the city is saying that the bus pass will cover the rail. Okay, so which means.
But you'll still get there slower, and you won't be in your car.
Yeah, but what that means is then you're going to have huge operating losses on top of all the very high operating losses for the bus.
Sure. Okay, well, what about this for Hawaii? What do you think in terms of how do you see, could you see transporting this project here and building something similar here?
Malia, I've actually had an opportunity, courtesy of a number of people here in Hawaii, to go out and look at H1 and Kamehameha and the kind of suburban development that you have outside of the city and the type of right-of-way that is available along those roadways. And absolutely, this project could be built in Hawaii. In fact, it almost was made for Hawaii as a hot lane, which would allow express buses and high occupancy vehicles like van pools to use one of the lanes and to let other people who wanted an uncongested trip to pay a toll to buy into the hot lanes, and it's called a high occupancy toll lane. That's the terminology.
Right.
I believe this not only would work in Hawaii, but it would absolutely address the traffic congestion along H1 if you were to build it.
But then what would we do for 2 hours in our car every morning? We'd have to just sit in there just to feel like the old times, right? Wait for 2 hours. But we, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but we just had a situation recently where a military truck hit one of the bridges, and it started to crumble. This is on the freeway, and so they stopped all traffic on that side of the freeway, which was going home, and this was during traffic starting to become afternoon traffic time. And then some of the other lanes on the other side, and it just shut down the whole freeway. Some people didn't get there till 11 o'clock at night. This was in 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then, this happens when we have accidents where people are, die on the scene. They close the freeway. It could be all night. And so people have to go to hotels, or they stay at friends' houses, or they don't know where to go to the bathroom because they're stuck on the freeway. So, I mean, it's gotten to be crazy, and that's why there's been so much momentum for the rail. They think, oh, that's going to solve our problems. What do you think in terms of how would this alleviate something like that?
Well, actually, the rail wouldn't solve that problem at all. Having a highway within a highway, which is exactly what this is the perfect solution for what we call incident management, because it gives you the extra capacity when you need it. And if you're traveling on part of the highway that's blocked, here's an alternative that's right there for you, that can be used to divert traffic away from the congested accident, pay for possibly a short trip around it, and then go back down to the non-tolled lanes. This is used all over the country as a method of treating incidents on the highway. The big problem with any kind of an incident is that it causes traffic to divert, and if traffic has no place to divert to, it gets stalled. Having an additional set of lanes with excess capacity in them gives you a place to divert. It's like what happens when the internet goes down. The internet is a network of connections, and if the internet breaks down in one area, people are able to find or the information flows through another network. That's how a roadway system works. And if you have enough roadway capacity in your network, then when something happens, cars can go around the incident and then come back onto the existing road that they were on before. A train doesn't alleviate that problem. If you have an accident on a highway, what are you going to do? Get out of your car and jump on the train?
I know.
It's not going to help you.
Right. Unless you get desperate, you run out of gas, your car gets left, right? No, it doesn't seem to be a common sense. It seems like you need another way to get home. I mean, I feel really sorry for the people that live on the west side of Oahu. It's a really terrible situation.
Well, Honolulu has one of the best bus systems in the world, not just in the U.S., but in the world.
Right.
Very high utilization. It really can take you almost anywhere. And the big problem with Honolulu's buses and almost every other bus system is giving a reliable schedule. This is the kind of project that allows rubber-tired transit, buses, express buses, van pools, to have a guaranteed time frame that their trip is going to take. So if we can tell the Honolulu Transit Company that your buses are going to run on schedule and your express buses are going to take only 15 or 18 minutes to make the trip, they'll attract even more riders. And for people who can't afford automobiles, this is a terrific solution.
Well, the city always talks about how much gas it's spending on the buses, and a lot of it, I'm sure, is from waiting around in traffic. And so that could probably even help cut the fuel costs for the buses.
That's right. The bus sits in the same kind of congestion that cars do. So this is a way to get cars moving at regular speed. Automobiles run efficiently, engines run efficiently, they use less gas per mile, they create less air pollution, and again, a lot less stress on the drivers.
Cliff, what do you have to add?
Well, I'd like to add the fact that when you've got traffic running freely at 55, 60 miles an hour, you've got, as Bob Poole was telling us yesterday, you've got almost 50% greater throughput of vehicles when they're stuck in traffic at 15 to 20 miles an hour. So it's a far more efficient way to move vehicles through. Another issue that the city has been bringing up is the old Lexus lane idea that only the rich are going to ride it,
right, that's what they keep saying, right.
And yet they consistently ignore the federal studies of San Diego and Orange County, where they found that there is incredible support, 80% support across all income groups for the idea of the toll lanes, the hot lanes. And the reason for that, which had not occurred to anybody before, was that when someone is facing a $15 or $20 charge because they're late picking up a child from daycare, that to be on time and spend $4, say, to be on time is cheap compared with the alternative.
Right, and even talk about the gas, using gas usage as well. Besides,
Yes.
you're saving your time and gas money
Right.
these days, since it's almost $4 a gallon now,
Yeah,
right?
Right. But the other thing, you know, is that if you've got a doctor's appointment, okay, or if you've got an interview for a job, it's almost across income groups. $5 whatever is cheap compared with missing that opportunity, and so that is why across income groups with people who rarely use it, it's there on the day. It's a reliable alternative that's always there for me to use, even if I don't always use it. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people look upon the bus that way. They're very supportive of the bus system as being a fallback position in the event that something goes wrong where they don't have a car, there's an emergency in transportation of some kind, and they can say, there's always the bus. We've had a number of people tell us that, and I mean, we've had people who've never been on the bus tell us that, but you know, that is one public attitude about the bus.
Well, it seems like it makes so much sense, and so why wouldn't we do something like this? And I guess what it comes back to, what I've seen it come back to, is money, following the money. A lot of times when I think things don't make sense as a reporter, I go and try to follow the money like we all do. And it seems like the rail's going to cost, if it costs $4 billion, a lot of that goes into construction. And I think that, you know, as Cliff would remember, at all the rallies for the rail, there were the construction workers were there from the union saying, let's, you know, build this thing, and that was going to be guaranteed jobs, and that's what they were saying. These are jobs for us, even if it's going to cost a tax increase for Hawaii, the biggest tax increase ever in the history of Hawaii, that they would be getting jobs out of it, and that was more important to them, not realizing that they'd have to pay higher taxes too, and so with their kids and grandkids. And well, how, you know, in terms of this goes, there's going to be a lot of work building this too, right?
Absolutely, Malia. In fact, whether you build the train or you build the hot lane, your local contractors and local workers will probably end up with a very similar amount of work and amount of business. The difference is that there will be billions of dollars going to pay somebody in France or Germany or Japan or Korea, where they make all of the rolling stock that these trains use. That's where a great deal of money will be shipped out of Honolulu, out of the country. And in fact, the kind of construction, this construction is very similar to the same kind of construction that would be used for an elevated train. So there's not any real difference in what local contractors and local workers will make. But there's another piece to the economic puzzle that people are forgetting. And that is that it's not just people driving to work who use H1 and who are out there in the rush hour. 30 to 40% of the traffic on the highway these days is to move goods and services. And trains just don't do anything to facilitate the movement of goods and services. And we're not just talking about large trucks moving goods from the port to warehouses. We're also talking about plumbers and TV repairmen and people delivering furniture and all of the small businesses in Hawaii who use the highway system, who need the highway system to make their businesses work. Congestion costs them a fortune. It reduces their productivity, makes their businesses less economical, and it hurts the economic vitality of the entire area. Whereas if you reduce congestion, you will improve the economy here in Honolulu by leaps and bounds compared to what a train is going to do.
Well, everything here is shipped in because we're on an island, and so that's very true. People right from the ports or the airports to Waikiki or to the other side of the island, you know, but definitely a lot of it goes on the freeway, so it would really help.
Let me bring up another point, another objection that we typically get, which is if you build another highway, it won't make any difference because the space will all fill up. And those are folks that don't live in Kaneohe or Kailua, because anybody on the windward side will be very happy to tell you that the congestion level dropped markedly after the H3 was opened in 1997, and the congestion level is still not got back up there despite the population growth.
Born and raised in Kailua, I can tell you that is true. Right. When you have, you know, there was a lot of disagreement over the H3 and so on, but when it opened, yep, a lot of people started, and nobody thought actually the H3, which connects the military bases, would take traffic away, but it does, especially as people move more toward the west side of the island. It is taking it. So definitely took a big load off of the windward side in terms of traffic load.
A hot lane system like this on H1 or along H1 would probably divert 15 to 20% of the traffic in the peak hour. It would make a huge difference to congestion on H1. And the way that we ensure that hot lanes work and always provide good service is that there is a toll, and you vary the toll based on the amount of congestion. So you're always able to guarantee to your customers when they get up on those hot lanes that they're going to have uncongested travel.
So in Hawaii, if you were to build something like this, you know, a lot of times people say, oh, I don't want an elevated highway. I think we've heard that before. But when you look at a rail, you're already looking at something. It's going to be graded above ground. In fact, was at the highest point, it's how high? 70, 60 feet?
Oh, the rail line, yes. It's the top of the stations there. You're up 70 feet. It's
right. So it's already going to be a big train going this way. So how does this work?
This one is much lower.
Well, first of all, this type of a highway doesn't require any stations.
Okay.
So there are 20 to 30 large stations that would not be built. Those are very expensive elements on a train project. Secondly, aesthetics were a huge problem in Tampa.
Right.
We have a very environmentally conscious community. Tourism plays a role there too. We have a community that cares about their image, and they told us clearly that they wanted a project that they could be proud of. And we ended up with a bridge that is a work of art. It is beautiful. There is everyone who sees it, it just raves about how beautiful and how small it looks from underneath. And it was designed just exactly to do that in a way that it looks very small from underneath. And when you get on top of the bridge, you go, ooh, it didn't look this big when I was down below. And there are ways, and that's why the shape of the bridge is very unique. From one side of the bridge, you can only see that side. The way it's cut, it does not permit you to see the other side of the bridge. So it looks very light and airy. And in fact, this picture that's over your right shoulder shows you what the bridge looks like from the air as it winds its way to downtown. And you can see some of our problems in this photo. Like Hawaii, we have a lot of water. Sometimes the water comes right up to our right-of-way. On the other side, we have industrial properties, very expensive properties, and other roadways where we just did not have the additional right-of-way to add 5 lanes. Now we've been able to do it by elevating it, and we've done it in a very beautiful structure that our community just is totally proud of.
It looks great. So this is where you built it up here, which is over the other
That's right.
lanes,
You
right?
can see the older lanes down below, and where this photo was taken near the end of the peak hour, but you can see everything is moving very nicely.
Funny, I don't see any potholes on this overpass, Cliff. We're, you know, we're the pothole heaven. We had the most, what was it, the worst roads in the nation in 1998, I think it was?
Well, I will tell you, maintenance in Florida is an issue also. We have a lot of rain. We have really poor soil conditions there, and that is the formula for potholes.
Right.
One thing about a toll road generates enough revenue to pay for its own operations and maintenance. And toll roads are some of the best maintained roadways in the country. And when you drive on the Florida Turnpike system, on our expressway, or the Miami-Dade Expressway, or in Orlando around Disney World on the toll roads there, you're on the best roads in Florida.
So Cliff, is there anything else you wanted to add about Hawaii and how you see this fitting in?
Well, what we would like to do is to see our elected officials go to Tampa to see how this one operates, to go to San Diego, to go to Houston and Orange County and talk to the officials there, see how it is been accepted by the folks in the community, people who use it and those who don't use it, and to verify everything that we're saying about this being a highway solution, which is the only thing that can have an impact, a significant impact on traffic congestion.
Well, since our lawmakers have been going to, let me see, Japan, Korea, all over the world to look at different systems, I don't see why they couldn't come to Tampa and see what we've got.
Well, I am proud to tell you that the chairman of the council, Mr. Dela Cruz,
Yes.
and Todd Poe, one of the other council members, have accepted our invitation
Oh,
to come
good.
to Tampa
Yes.
to see the
Terrific.
project.
Oh,
And
good.
in early November, they're going to be there, and we're going to show them this wonderful
Well,
transportation
you must have
project.
impressed them with your speech yesterday then. Well, I just wanted to say thank you. I know that was a half hour that went very quickly. Just wanted to say thank you to our two guests and welcome to them to News Behind the News, and look forward to hopefully seeing hot lanes in Hawaii. Thank you very much, and stay tuned for next week. Aloha.